Time is a very valuable commodity. In fact, some people might say it's priceless. I am certain that if you love someone, you spend time with them. That's the best thing you could give them, is your time. I learned that when I was a boy going to Bible camp in Emmelina, Kentucky. I used to go to Camp Nathaniel every summer, and my favorite part of camp was craft time. Every afternoon, all of us boys would run up the hill to the craft barn where we would make stuff with Mr. McCarty. Mr. McCarty ran the craft barn. I loved that barn. It sat underneath a big old walnut tree, so it was well shaded up on the mountain. It was always dark and cool in the craft barn. And we made leather crafts, so there was that wonderful aroma of old cured leather inside the barn. It was a wonderful place. Now, most boys did not want to spend a bunch of time in the craft barn. No, we were boys of Kentucky, which meant basketball was our religion. And most boys went to Bible camp to play basketball. So they were just going to do something real quick in the craft barn so they could run back down the hill to the bottom of the camp where the ball courts were located. They'd spend the rest of the afternoon playing basketball. Most boys would just make a key fob. That was quick and easy. Just a little piece of leather attached to a key ring, and you could stamp your initial on that. Done. And then you could run back down to the bottom of the camp and play basketball. Not me. I was going to spend as much time as possible in that craft barn for all kinds of reasons. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the projects. It was the only time I ever got to work on a leather project. And so one year, I chose to make a Bible cover. That was going to take a lot of time. And that's when I learned how much Mr. McCarty loved me because he was going to spend a lot of time helping me make that Bible cover. First, we had to cut out the leather. Great big squares that were just the same size as my Bible, only a little bit bigger. And then we had to perforate all of the edges so that we would have a place to lace up the different pieces of leather. Then we had to design the front cover. I chose a Bible verse. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord who made heaven and earth. That was way too long of a verse to put on the front of a leather Bible cover. So Mr. McCarty took time to help me pare that down to a short phrase. I chose the phrase, unto these hills. And I used a stylus to draw pictures of a mountain in the soft leather, and then we stamped unto these hills underneath that. After that, we had to stain the leather. I chose a mahogany stain. We had to wipe that on with a sponge, and of course then that had to dry overnight. That took time. And then we had to lace the Bible cover, and that took forever. And I was the only person that would come up to the craft barn. All the other boys had made their key fob and they were off playing basketball every afternoon for the rest of the week, but not me. I would spend hours every afternoon under the shade of that walnut tree inside that craft barn working on the lacing of my Bible cover. I had to cut big, long leather strings for lacing, and inevitably I would cut the string too small or too short, and I would get about halfway up one side of my Bible cover and realize I didn't have enough lacing, and then Mr. McCarty would very quietly, almost silently, he never said many words, he would help me unlace all of that and remeasure and cut a much longer leather string to use for lacing. We would sit there side by side at the workbench, not saying much, and he would just very patiently help me with my project. When I spent time with Mr. McCarty, I began to notice lots of things. I could look around that barn and notice all the stuff stored in it. I would notice the backs of his hands, how you could see all the purple veins in the backs of his hands. Looks like so much leather lacing. His skin looked kind of like the color of that mahogany leather Bible. And then one day we were sitting there, and we heard a rustling sound, and we both looked up from the workbench. And coming down the stairs from the, like what used to be a hayloft, I guess, or the attic above, was a big, long black snake. He just slithered down the stairs, stopped about halfway down, raised his head and turned and looked at us. We looked at him. Mr. McCarty and I looked at each other, and the snake just slithered on down the stairs and out the door. That was a fun little adventure that none of the boys playing basketball got to have. And you know how I got to have that? Sitting for a long time with Mr. McCarty. I did not finish my Bible cover. I didn't have enough time. I ran out of time because I made so many mistakes. Mr. McCarty had to so patiently help me redo it so many times. So I figured come Saturday morning at the end of my week at Bible camp, I would just take whatever I'd finished home and my dad could help me at home. But Saturday morning, come the end of Bible camp, Mr. McCarty met me at the breakfast table with my Bible cover all laced up, absolutely perfect and beautiful. He had spent extra time finishing my project for me so I could go home with it ready to use and proud of my work. Mr. McCarty loved all of us boys, but I know he especially loved me because he spent so much time with me. Bum, 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 bum.